Here we go.
Slide.
It's nice to see you all. I'm so happy that you are here today. So it's our second section, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead, Belen.
Yes, I am your co-facilitator for this first section. My name is Belen Orozco, and I am the Director of Operations for both Lighthouse and Lodestar. I'm really excited to be here and to continue to partner with families and see all the great things that we are doing together to increase literacy across our families.
Okay.
So you know it, my name is Naborina, Family Coordinator at Lodestar. So I'm so happy to have you here all. And here we go.
Now, Brittany, you want to take us through our Zoom agreements?
You're on mute, Navarina.
Okay, the agreements. So cameras must be on and name and a school has to be there. So we are here to build community with each other. Let's see each other a beautiful faces. So everybody has to have the cameras on, that way we can know who you are and where you are. Participate actively. So use Zoom reactions. Use Zoom chats all the time. So use the chat to put anything right there you want to share, okay? Ask questions. Always remember to ask questions. We are here to learn. Your questions will help us others. So if you have questions, just don't say, I don't want to say anything. Somebody else wants to know. The other one. Affirmations and support. Lift each other up as we learn. Make connections with one another. Give shout-outs to our and appreciation. So we are here to support. So we have to support each other and learn at the same time. So that's our agreements.
Now moving on to our community schools models here at LCPS, and how does Lit for Literacy and LCPS support these outcomes? For starters, creating powerful student and family engagement, collaboration between leadership and sharing power and voice, expanding and enriching learning opportunities, creating rigorous community connections in classroom instruction, and finally, creating a culture of belonging, safety, and care. It's good to see you, Tanisha. Now, Marina, you wanted
so we are here with our list of literacy of values. So we have agency, science-based, partnership, and right to know.
Do you want to go through each agreement for us, Nabrina, or maybe call on a parent to read each one?
Okay.
Who you gonna call on? Pick someone.
Agency. Here we go. Let me see what I can.
Who can help us out? Maybe Anna? Anna, can you read agency for us?
Or Monica is there?
Or Monica?
Yes, I'm here.
You want to read agency for us?
Sure. Agency. We build the agency and leadership of parents to advocate for their children's educational achievement individually and collectively.
Thank you. Awesome. And I think agency is also a Lighthouse and Lodestar like value, right? Agency is super important.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Shayna. Yes, absolutely. Okay, what about science-based? Who else wants to come off mute and read science-based for us?
Hi everyone, Mr. Marshall here. I did not get to introduce myself. I'm the principal at Lodestar. Science-based. We champion a vision for high-quality schools, including a science-based approach to reading for all students.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Let's see. Who else wants to read for us? Paz, can you read partnership for us?
I try it.
Okay. Let's hear it. Or maybe someone can help Paz out. Maybe she can't hear us. Let's
I
see.
hear you.
Do you want to read partnership for us on the screen?
Hello.
Yes. Oh, you know what? I think it keeps muting you, Paz. Every
Hey,
time it
Susan,
goes.
we have
Uh-huh.
Marisol that raised her hand from Lighthouse.
Okay, Marisol. You want to read partnership?
Yes. Partnership, we believe equitable access to quality education takes place when there is a strong home, school communication, collaboration, and accountability.
Thank you
Good
so much,
job.
Marisol.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, my microphone was off.
Oh, there we go. You want to take the last one for us? Right to know?
Yes, ma'am. Parents must know the academic standard, the date, and their child academic progress to be full partners in their shared education, the child education. Got it?
Yes. Thank you so much, Paz.
Welcome.
Absolutely. So we're operating from these values as during our times together and, as we kind of embark on this journey to improve literacy together, right? These are our values, what we value as a community. And we're going to talk a lot more about that later in this session. Sound good to folks?
Yes.
Good. Awesome. Let's see. Nabrini, you want to take us through our check-in?
Check-in. So put your name and school in the chat box and just put what activity did you try out? You know, the last section we have we have to choose one or two. So just choose which one works for you. Or how do you go? So just put it in the chat the one that you choose, the one that you did.
Let's see. Miss Rachel says she's a first grade teacher at Lighthouse and she knows some of her parents did a book walk. And she noticed a
Hey.
change this week when she was reading with them. Nice. Lighthouse first grade parents. Who's a Lighthouse parent? You guys are killing it. Mr. Marshall asked some students to do a book walk with him this week at school. At Lodestar, Tanisha did a book talk. Chabri did a book talk as well. Wow, you guys are really putting those what we learned last week into practice. I'd love to hear it. Marisol practiced reading and letter sounds for her first and third graders. Man, I just want to give all of y'all a pat on the back, and we're gonna have a little time later to celebrate.
Say a woohoo.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's do woo-woo. Now, Brenda, count us down. We can do a woo-woo right now because that's awesome.
I say 1, 2, 3. Woohoo. I don't hear nobody say it. Here we go. One more time. 1, 2, 3.
Nice. Perfect. Keep putting it in the chat box. More practices that you guys did.
Yes, and we'll, as Susan mentioned, we'll have some time later to share out some more highlights of stories of work that families did over the past week. Now for our goals for literacy. So 90% of our students whose parents are enrolled will meet their reading acceleration goals. We want 100% of parents to know their child's reading level and the grade level expectation. It's very important. 100% of parents will practice reading activities every week at home. And really focusing on collaboration and communication between educators and parents. We're hoping to increase our collaboration and communication by 50%.
Thank you, Belen. Now, Marina, do you want to take us through our Live for Literacy steps?
Yes, so there are 6 steps, right? So tonight we are going to complete section 3. So we have, the first one we say last time you apply, we meet with your family coordinator. The second one, attend the text check and attend the 4 Zooms that we're gonna have soon. And then we're gonna be attend a lead person section. And number 5 is be part of our family literacy leader team at the school. So I like that one. I need leaders on each school to support our school and our kids' boys. And 6, qualify for your 150 fellowship. I like that one too. So that's our 6 steps.
Awesome. Thank you, Nabarina. Can you walk us through our quiz too? Oh, I think you're muted.
I left my reading glasses on the car, so that's why I have to be like this because I can see the other side. So I have to put my computer close.
That's
So
okay.
here we go with
this
this quiz times. So you just listen and pay attention to this quiz time, and you're gonna put on the chat. You wanna put your response right there. Your question is. First question is, as the most important civil rights issues of our time, literacy has which pillars? So remember that we have the pillars right there, like the vocabulary, all the pillars right there. So which one of all of this? That's the right one. You can put it in the chat. Which one is right? That is the first one. So just try to choose. The second one, the goal of LCP literacy is to work in partnership with families to get, remember we say how much percent of our students reading at a grade level by the end of the year. So remember which, how much was the percent? So just put in the chat. Third one, at home, I can support my child in learning to read by. So how you do it? Remember we had 2 right there. How do you do it? We have 2 or 3. So you select your question right there, your answer. In order to reach our, I'm sorry, I need to go to get my glasses. In order to reach, what, Belen, can you do the third one? Yeah, I can read. I need my glasses. I have to go and get my
At
glasses.
home, I can support my child in learning to read
Thank you,
by
Belen.
setting a routine to read, doing a book walk, having a book talk, or all of the above. And last question for the day. In order to reach our goal, each of us must make a conscious decision to put on blank and lean into our personal leadership. A raincoat, B happy face, C winter jacket, D power coat. Let's see those answers. That's right. D for power coat.
You know what? So the poll is actually a pop-up window. So if everyone could put their answers on the poll itself, it'll give you the answer choices. And then that way we can see how many of you have responded to the poll and then how many folks got it right. It helps us keep track. So let's see, maybe we can go through the answers now that folks have had sort of a chance to respond. It looks like 13 of you have responded, but I know we have more than 13 on the call. Let's get more answers in for that poll. It's a little pop-up window. We'll give it like 10 seconds. Let's see. Okay, we got another set of responses in. Let's keep going. I know you guys remember so much content from last week. Y'all were practicing it at home. You're practically experts now, right? Okay. Well, as we get those answers in, let's go through question 1. So, most important civil rights issue of our time. Literacy has which pillars? And Amberina, she said it perfectly. We learned this last week, and there's 6 of them in total, and it's all of the ones listed there. So the answer is G. Exactly. G for number 1. Perfect. Let's see. Question 2. What is our goal for Live for Literacy? Right? What is the percentage of the students of the families that participate that we want to be on reading grade level? Is it 0? Maybe it's 0. Maybe we're like, we don't want any improvements. What do you guys think? Let's see. I see some folks put D, D, D. Yes, exactly. It is D, 90%. So smart. Let's see. At home, I can support my child by doing what? Do we only need a routine? Or can we combine that routine and do a book walk and a book talk? Let's see what folks said. D, all of the above. Most of you guys answered D. Awesome. Yes. Woo, woo. And 4. In order to reach our goal, each one of us must make a conscious decision to put on our power coats. D. 93% of y'all got that right. Awesome.
Wow,
We're going to talk
that's
about that
good.
power coat more today. Yes, that is good. Exactly. Super, super, super great job, everyone. Let's keep it going.
Let's now transition over to homework celebrations. We're gonna go ahead and start off with our family share outs. Susan, next slide. So to kick us off, we have the Booker family, Leela, Titi, and Jason doing a book talk and book walk of the children's book of the Bible. Look at those artistic skills, that drawing. Let's go on to our next family. And at the end of each school highlights, we're gonna do a whoop whoop on count on 3. We have Crisiel and Eric doing a book walk together and using the home reader chart. Look at this. He read every day. That's amazing. Yes, go Eric. All right. And now to bring us home for Lighthouse celebrations, we have Prince and Patrice Burnside reading together and practicing a book walk. We have a short video.
Okay, what it looks like he's doing with the ice cube.
He's holding it. Because this is one missing, so he's gonna put that one there.
Okay, do you think he's building something? Inland, okay. What kind of boots he got on? Like red boots or something? Okay. So.
So as you can see, it's really important not only to practice reading, but also to engage the reader, asking questions. Yes. All right. So on count on three, we're gonna do whoop whoop for
Oh,
our
wait.
lighthouse
Ellen,
families.
Ellen, we have one more lighthouse celebration. Sorry, we had one
okay,
that came in and we
yay.
wanted to put it on there.
Awesome. So Shabri Kill using her notes to set a routine and practice a book talk with her child Halia. Woo woo. All right. So on count on 1, 2, 3. Let's unmute ourselves. Woo woo.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yes.
So now we're
right.
gonna share our Lost Star families. And our first parent is Angela Fuentes and her daughter Jasmine. They do a book walk together. And I can read the book, the title, and it seems like it's an Spanish book. Good for you, Angela. And I have a past that share a video too, but unfortunately it was a little bit long. I already talked to her about we could do it next time. But yeah, keep doing. I'm still missing some other folks. So at the count of 3, we're gonna have who. 1, 2, 3.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Hey, Belen and Navarina, I saw a question in the chat I wanted to call your attention to that someone was confused about how to use the what was it called? The reader, you know, the where you're
The
the
reading
routine
chart?
reading chart. Thank you. Could you explain
Ooh.
that again?
Let's see.
Yes. So I was highlighting that Eric had read so correct me if I'm wrong, Susan. So Eric has read every day, and for every day that he's read, he's put a sticker on the reading chart to keep
Yes,
track of how many days he's read.
exactly.
So we want to
Belen.
encourage all families to use their reading chart to have their child track their reading for every week.
Is that helpful? Does that answer your question? Chibri?
Yes, thank you.
Of course, we love questions. Thank you for asking it. I'm sure you were not the only parent that had that question. Awesome. All right, now, Barina, can you take us through our purpose and outcomes?
To continue to build our parent partnership with your LCPS 2023 leadership campaign. To share to understand your child literacy data and reading fluency activity. To build on your history of self with our history of us, and to introduce the principal leaders have followers. In order to effectively work together to increase literacy rates for your child and all our students. So that is our main focus.
Today's session is super exciting because we will learn about time reading fluency and look at our individual student data. Then we'll go into our breakout groups. We will practice. Then we will come back to the big group and do our leadership lesson and talk about the story of us. And then we'll go into the second breakout group to write our stories and practice sharing them before we end for the evening. And I would now like to introduce our two K-5 principals, Cody Marshall at Lodestar and Shayna Hurley at Lighthouse, who are going to teach us on how we can determine whether our child's reading level is in relation to the grade levels standard, and show us time reading fluency so we can better support our children at home. Woo woo for Cody and Shayna.
Yes, we definitely got to give a big whoop whoop for Cody and Shayna. They've been teaching us so much, right? So I'm gonna count us down and we're gonna welcome them to the virtual stage. So 3, 2, 1. Woo, woo,
Woo,
woo,
woo.
Woo, woo, woo.
Yay.
Wow.
Whoop, whoop is right. I feel so loved, everyone. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
What a great intro. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, I am going to get us started. A reminder, I'm Shayna Hurley. I'm the principal at Lighthouse Elementary School. So I'm really excited about today's session. We are going to be looking at some data. We're going to be talking to you about what the data says, and then we're going to have more time to do some action planning and really do something about the data. So wanted to start off just with a quick, introduction. Why should we care about data? I told you all last week that, when I was growing up, I thought that I was a great reader. My parents thought I was a great reader. And it wasn't until I got to college that I realized that I actually was missing some key skills in reading. And so looking at data, looking at lots of forms of data can give you as parents and students that information early enough so that we can really do something about it. So our students are ready for college. Cody, do you want to share some things about how data is important for you?
Data is important for me because without data, I wouldn't know how to do my job. We have to have objective ways to be able to determine what our students are doing well in and what our students are not doing well in, other than being able to say, oh, my student reads good or my student can't read good. As we've talked about before, reading is really complex. There are these multiple strands of reading instruction. And we want to be able to measure our students against those different strands and the different ways that we want them to grow as readers. So it all starts with being able to understand data. And that will make it easier for you too. As a parent, you don't want to do guesswork around where your student needs to grow. And you don't want to do guesswork around the activities that you should be doing with your student. So this is going to be really helpful.
All right, so we are going to start with our first set of data is actually going to be our report card. So you've probably seen this, but go ahead, show me a reaction, raise your hand. If you have seen this thing before and it just confused you more than it should have. Anyone? Yep. I see that. Marisol, I agree. It is a complicated report card and it looks a lot different than the report cards I used to get that were just an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. And the beauty in that is that it actually gives more information. So let's go through what we actually can see from this report card. So a few things to note. We've got a color system here. And the colors mean different scores. Does anyone know what the scores are that we give, what numbers we give in Lighthouse and Lodestar? In the chat or out loud, what are some of the numbers that you get?
Anyone can just shout it out or put it in the chat. Let's see what we get. What are the numbers on the student's report card?
Yep, I see it in the chat. 1 to 4. Absolutely. 1, 2, 3, or 4. And what's tricky about the numbers, they don't quite make sense. But there's the goal that we're going towards, or being on grade level. Who knows what score you get for being on grade level? A 3. Yep. And a 4 is really that bonus, right? A 4 means you're above grade level. So really, we're wanting kids to get to a 3, and it's great if they get to a 4, but a 3 is really what we're looking for. Now, a 2 means you're a little below grade level. You're getting close. You're approaching. And a 1 is that students are pretty far off. They're a full year below grade level or multiple years below grade level. And so you'll see here in this report card that a 1 is actually this lightest color, right? You've got the really light color. That's a 1. On this report card, this student has a lot of areas where they're pretty below grade level. Now you'll see the color gets a little bit darker when it's a 2. And then suddenly, what color does it turn when you're at a 3? Anyone see? What color is a 3? Yep, there it is. It's green.
Yeah.
So we want to see this report card light up with green. That is our ultimate goal. There are a bunch of different categories. All of these categories are different things. Some of them are the student's ability to just decode. Some of them are specific to writing, right? I see here reading literature versus reading information, right? Kids might have different scores for those, but really the ultimate goal is we want this reading area to be green or dark green. So that's a quick recap of the report card, but you can look more and more into it. And you should be getting, if you haven't, you should be getting a new report card home very soon. All right, Cody, what's the next piece of data we're going to be looking at?
Yes, next we're going to look at reports from our benchmark assessments that we require students to take. So you may receive a student's progress report or report card, and you're going to see those 1 through 4s, and you're going to say, wait a minute, I went to a Zoom with Families in Action, and I learned all about this science and reading stuff. And this report card just gives me a lot of questions. It gives me a lot of questions about the specific areas that my student needs to show improvement in. It gives me questions about what types of tasks was my student being asked to do. That's where these detailed data printouts from our benchmark assessments come in. So one of our assessments that we use in elementary school to measure reading is called Ames Web Plus. What we're seeing on this report is the breakdown of different reading skills that the student is being asked to demonstrate. We have letter, word, sound fluency, letter naming fluency. So can they just say the names of the letters A through Z? Phonemic segmentation. Phonemic segmentation is like when I see the word dog, can I identify that there are 3 sounds in the word dog? Good. Word recognition fluency. So being able to see a word and recognize that word as it is. So I see the word dog and I know it says dog. Auditory vocabulary. So like hearing a word and being able to match it to a picture. Oral reading fluency, being able to read words naturally and fluently. And nonsense word fluency. Nonsense word fluency is where you show a student a word that's not necessarily a word, like bip or pog, and that they can still confidently attack those words, even though they've never seen them before. And so we take all that information and we generate a composite score. A composite score is like an average. So in the end, getting all that information, getting the composite score, we're able to generate some, how do you say, some data points that are easier for parents to understand. So for instance, this report summarizes for us that this student is considered high risk based on their composite score, particularly in their oral reading fluency and nonsense word fluency. Often these types of reports also show percentiles. Percentiles can be kind of confusing, but if a student is at the 2nd percentile, what they're saying is that 98% of students in this student's age group and or performance band are performing higher than this student. So in general, when you receive a report that indicates a student's percentile, You want that student's percentile to be higher, not lower. So it's a good thing to be in the 99th percentile. It's a bad thing to be at the first percentile, for instance. So this student is at the second percentile. And mid-range is somewhere between the 25th to 75th percentile.
Lots of information there. And you know, all of that Cody was just explaining really is all about, or is focused on one of the pillars. Is there anyone out there who can shout out what's the pillar that those things focus on?
Fluency.
Yep, fluency. It's all about, can the kids read the words on the page, right? This isn't even talking yet about do they understand the words. This is really, can they read the words that are on the page? And that's going to be our focus for today. So in just a little bit, we're going to be jumping in, looking at your students' data, and then talking about how can we improve it by thinking just about the fluency. It's all you, Cody.
Yes, sorry about that. It took me a while to find that unmute button. So here's some tips that we would like all our parents to know, is that when you hear a teacher say reading fluency, what that means is, what is the student's speed at reading combined with their accuracy and expression? So if I read something really fast, but I got all the words wrong, it's not fluency. If I read something in a slow and very choppy manner, that also interferes with my comprehension as well. I'm not like fully fluent if I'm reading in that choppy manner. So you're trying to get the balance of speed, accuracy, and expression. So the student is reading naturally, or in a way that seems natural to someone listening. And so when they're reading to themselves, it's comprehensible. And per minute, there are different like per minute goals that students have depending on what grade they are at to be considered fluent when they demonstrate that. So if I'm a kindergartner, I should be able to name 20 letters in a minute. And don't rely on your students' knowledge of the alphabet song, but if the letters are mixed up, a student who is fluent in kindergarten can simply point to the letters just like at the DMV and say that's a, that's a G, that's a Z, that's a X, and they should be able to do that at a rate of about 20 per minute. I've seen it before. It's really beautiful to see. And then for letter sounds, same thing. They should be able to point to the letter and say that sound goes ah, that sound goes d, that sound goes z. And they should be able to do that at a rate of about 41 per minute. And then for decodable words that are at their grade level, words like pig and dog, they should be able to point to those words and decode them at a rate of about 10 words per minute. And then for first grade, all of the aforementioned information that kindergartners have to do has to be true. And then on top of that, they reach 66 words per minute. At second grade, 101 words per minute. Third grade, 125 words per minute. Fourth grade, 147 words per minute. And at fifth grade, we want our students to be at 162 words per minute.
That's a lot of words in a minute. Everyone look at that. Everyone look and figure out how many words should your student be able to read in a minute, or how many letter names or sounds should they be able to do? Yep. I see some people in the chat. 162. That's a lot. A minute goes by quick. All right, awesome. Well, let's jump to the next slide where we're actually going to be able to practice. So here we have an example of a reading fluency test. This reading fluency test is happening in a classroom, and we're going to be watching it so that we can practice at home. So we're just going to watch the video. While the video is happening, I want you to be noticing what's the teacher doing, and what's the student doing. so that at the end we can really have some directions for ourselves. All right.
All right, sweetie, we are going to practice fluency. You have been working so hard. You tell me how many words you already can read. Nice, isn't that amazing? Can you tell me what the 3 parts of fluency are? Yeah. Quickly, accurately, what's the last one? Oh my goodness, you are a rock star. Now, what does it mean to read accurately? Right? Accurately means we're reading. Accurately means we're reading all of these words perfectly. You're reading them correctly, okay? Quickly means we're reading fast. And what does it mean to read with expression? But it was like kind of a touch. Change the tone of voice. It's how we talk. Okay, are you ready? We're going to try to read this passage. You're going to try to beat your goal, okay? We're going to have 1 minute to read. Ready, set, go. They like to watch TV. There was something wrong. Stop because
I think the sound might be not functioning for folks.
Is it not playing smoothly?
At first, I thought that the sound was edited out because we could only hear the adult and not the child. And sometimes that happens with recorded video, but now it just sounds like I can't hear the student reading at all. Or no sound, not even background noise.
Okay, let's see. What about now?
No.
Nope, nope.
Don't know why. Maybe we just have to replay it in the breakout groups for folks.
Yeah, I think that's okay. I also think we can talk through it and we can kind of infer what happened.
I think so. I think we can infer for sure.
Yeah. All right. So I want you to start thinking, what are some things? Let's talk about the adult first. What did the adult do in this video when they were doing this fluency with the student? Go ahead, put it in the chat, say it out loud. Would love to hear some voices. What did the adult do?
I believe that she tried to explain him or her, and also she take a time to see how many words they do in a minute.
Yep. I love both those things, right? She didn't just jump in and hand him a piece of paper and say, read it. She really explained to him the importance and things like that. Yep. Like Corey said, there's some encouragement, right? And then also timed the student. And who remembers how long the timer was going to be? What were we talking about right before this? Anyone know? How much time? Yep, 1 minute. Exactly. So timing with that 1 minute. Absolutely. Yes, she was supportive, right? We're not trying to make anyone feel pressure or anything like that, even though it is kind of a test. We want them to feel good going into it and not stressed out. And yes, Tanisa, explaining about the progress, right? Here's what you did last time. Let's see if we can do better. We want to celebrate those wins. All right, and let's close it out with, what did the student do? Even though we didn't get to hear the student that much, what was the student doing?
He pointing every time he reading.
Yeah, what a great strategy. There's a lot of words on that page. He doesn't want to lose his place.
Mhm.
Yep. Marisol noticed the same thing, was reading and pointing. Absolutely. All right. So we're going to summarize all that quickly. Cody, go ahead.
All right. So yeah, we want to make sure this, like in this scenario, the teacher's making sure that the student knew that their words per minute. That's why we take out the phone and calculate that on a 1 minute timer. Make it fun, right? Instill a growth mindset in students by saying to them, let's beat the score. Students are incredibly motivated by that type of language. If we say, let's beat the score, instead of just like, do this because I said to. Remind them about the 3 components. If we are building metacognition in students around speed, accuracy, and expression, they'll know why they're reading again and what their growth area is, what they're going towards. You should time the fluency practice. Remember, that's 1 minute. And go back and review any missed words with students.
Awesome. I want to add just a couple of things that I personally think are important during fluency. If students are reading pretty far below grade level, we don't want to give them this passage at their own grade level and have them just sit there and stare at the page if we already know they can't yet read the words there. So something that's okay to do is to give students a different grade level. Maybe if they're a 3rd grader, you can give them a 1st grade passage and they can get really, really good at the 1st grade passage. And then once they've mastered that, give them the 2nd grade. But we don't want the whole minute to go by and they're stuck on the 1st word, right? That is just going to be frustrating. And it's not going to lead to any success. They're not going to see their progress. They're not going to feel proud. So starting where your student is great. Another thing, if they get stuck on one word, a word comes up and they just have no idea what the word is, it's okay to tell them so that they can just keep moving on, right? If they see the word patch and they're trying, they don't know what it is, say that word's patch and don't count it as a correct word, but let them keep going, right? Because maybe there are a lot of other words they know on the page and we don't want that one word to get in the way of their ability to get a higher word per minute. All right. Great. So we are about to jump into breakout rooms and we're going to go through these things right here. We're going to go through the report card and your own student's data. We're going to figure out, is your student on, above, below grade level? And then we're going to start taking some action by really practicing the timed fluency and setting a goal for this week.
And I have to say to everyone, I'm so proud of this work that I'm getting to do with you all. But unfortunately, I have to peel away to tend to some family matters that are very important to me. But this is not our last time together, and I really look forward to the next session that we'll have. So I'll see you later.
Thank you, Cody. Have a good night. Okay, so you're going to see pop up on your screen your breakout group. So once that little pop-up comes up, you can go ahead and choose your breakout group. Hey, everybody, we are back in the big group. Please jump back into interpretation. Ya regresamos al grupo grande, por favor, escogen su interpretación. Man, I know we talked about a whole bunch of really awesome stuff in my small group, and we totally want to hear from each small group what you guys talked about. How did that go? What did the data look like? And what are people feeling motivated to do about the data? Shana and Danilo, can we start with your group? Which parent is going to share from your group?
Uh-oh, I didn't pick anyone. I'll pick on the spot. Shabri, would you mind sharing out just some of the things that we talked about trying for Halia?
Sure, yes. So I actually had the question of how do I implement the 1 minute timer, being that Halia is in kindergarten and she does not know how to read yet. And we talked about for Halia starting with like the letter names and sounds and timing her doing that and making sure she can recognize the letters on the page. And even Miss Hurley suggested mixing the letters up because kids often sing their ABCs to remember the letters.
Thank you so much, Shabri. Wow, I love that. And I love that you had Miss Hurley in there to help give you suggestions. Awesome. Tanisha, what about your group? Which parent is going to share out?
Monica is going to share out for us.
Yay, Monica. Let's hear it. What did you guys talk about?
Sorry, there's a lot of background noise. So if you guys can't hear me, let me know.
Okay.
We talked about, we didn't even get to the part of how do we help our kids, just because we were all confused. This is the first time we are all seeing this. And in my group, there are parents, we are parents that have been at the school, have been to parent conferences, and this is the first time we are seeing these scores. And we would love to know, like, we have questions. That's what our thing was like, do teachers know about these scores? And can these scores be explained to parents at parent conferences, so that both of us, because we are a team, parents and teachers, we're a team to figure out a way that we can help our kids. Because earlier, what you guys were saying about why do we, we can't just go on, putting work for them in a minute. We can't be putting work for them that we don't know is that's going to help them. We don't know these scores. At least I had never received and this is the first time I'm seeing this. And so I think a couple of parents also were having kind of concern.
One of the things that the parents that they were in conflict is the grades, the 1, 2, and 3s and 4s that the students are receiving when they're going to SLCs, versus where they're at on the data. So a lot of parents were very surprised, like, okay, but when I'm going in, they're getting 3s and 4s, they're doing awesome. But then the data is showing a different thing. And then something also Monica brought up as she's looking at her children's report is that she didn't understand with certain abbreviations. She's looking for just getting a clear understanding, a way that parents can actually, we look at the grades, but also we're looking at the data when it comes to testing, and just having more clarification for that. Because another pair of Naima, she said the same thing. Like, she was like, I thought my daughter was doing good, and just want to know how to partner with Shayna, our principals and stuff at Lighthouse, they're Lighthouse parents.
Yep.
To really just figure out, okay, they're doing good on here, but when it comes to the data and testing wise, they are below.
Okay. Shayna, is there any, just hearing the reflections from the second group, do you have anything you could offer to parents as maybe why some of the data isn't covered in conferences, or is that just something we could explore? This is why we're here, right? To figure out what are the barriers to communication and partnership, right? What do we need to know more about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. First of all, my door's open, so come on by. We can go through your report together. But also, teachers do have access to this, and teachers should be sharing it in conferences. I think I'd like to also pass it to Miss Albrecht and hear how she shares it at conferences. And then we can talk about how to make sure everyone is seeing this data in conferences. Since you should be receiving it in conferences. And I think that we have a lot of different data sets. And so sometimes teachers prioritize one over the other. And like you said, sometimes they don't always match because maybe a kid's doing really well in their classwork, but then, you know, they get this passage in front of them and actually they're not reading fluently, but when they sit and do it for a long time, they can figure it out, right? So all the data put together is really telling us the whole story of your child, or a lot of the story. It doesn't tell us everything. And so we'll continue. We have conferences coming up again in the middle of the year. And it will be expected that everyone sees their AIMSWeb scores, because we'll have new AIMSWeb scores by then. So it is my expectation, and I'll be checking to make sure that happens.
Thank you, Shayna. So now we know, right, what to ask our teachers when we go into those conferences, or even beforehand, right? If it sounds like we're really concerned even before the conferences happen. So I so appreciate you guys lifting that up. Marisol, I see you have a hand raised. I want to acknowledge that. Do you have a question?
Yes, I mean, she already answered. For me, what it would work, it's to see the actual report, not for them to put it in another different report, because then when parents see this, we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't see this at the conference, when they are actually sharing the information. But for us, seeing this paper, it's kind of like new, and that's why we're like, oh, I never seen this. But I do remember that Miss Albrecht, she did explain like, oh, this is but don't worry, he will get there. And she did explain it. It just doesn't look like this.
Okay.
I was just gonna, I was just gonna say, Marisol, I completely agree. It's hard to kind of look at, because we do have the AIMSWeb data that we're able to physically show you and go over, but the report cards we don't have printed. So it's kind of like, I'm able to say like, oh, you're gonna see a 1 in this area, but I mean, I honestly didn't even know how broken up the report cards are, because it looks different for us. So I wonder if it's a possibility that we can print them as teachers and then share, or if we can, probably not a possibility, but do conferences at a different date once they already have them. But definitely work and partner, I think, is a great idea to get both hard copy data so we can go over it together.
Yes.
That's a great reminder. I think sometimes we rely on just saying it verbally, right? And it's like, okay, actually seeing it is different, right? So good reminder.
Thank you guys so much for that, giving us a little insight. And then the last two groups, we're going to save your report back for our second breakout group. So I'll know to go to y'all first, okay? But now we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to go into the second half of our training tonight. Our leadership training and our story of us. And I am just so thrilled and excited to be here with all of you. My name is Susan. I'm a parent organizer with Families in Action, working in partnership with Lighthouse and Lodestar Parents, which is so awesome. And I'm joined here by Megan. Megan, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you and see some familiar faces. My name is Megan Bacigalupi. I am the Chief of Staff at Lighthouse. And what that means is I work with kind of our leadership team that supports both of our schools, primarily on kind of policy issues, government affairs work, communications work. I'm actually not, and I feel like I'm one of the few people on senior staff who is not a former educator. But as I shared in my breakout group, I am, like many of you, also a parent. I have a second grader and a fifth grader right now. So I'll talk more about that as we get into our stories too, Susan. But pleasure to be here tonight and to see all of you. And I just want to thank all of you for doing this.
Thank you, Megan. Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about a leader.
Yeah. So, and I don't know who's manning the slides, but I know these are an advance here. So what I will do, I'm going to take it through and talk about what a leader is in leadership. And what I would love for everyone to do now is to just put into the chat, or if you want, you can raise your hand as well. But what do you think a leader is? What does being a leader mean to you, both as a parent, as an advocate, and whatever it means to you in your own life? I know we have some people share in the chat what being a leader means to them. And while we do that, and then maybe we can read off, Susan, if you want to check the chat for some great answers while we advance the slide one thing so we can pull up that definition and I can share it with everyone. So a leader is someone who has followers and can also ignite that following. So, you know, motivate those people into action with them. Let's see, I see some answers coming in here.
Marisol says being present in a child's life. Yes. Speaking up for those that feel they have no voice. Exactly.
Yeah.
Takes accountability. A leader takes accountability. Oh, listens to their people.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, guys. What else? What other definitions do folks have?
Those are great answers.
Yeah. We'll see them as they come in. Keep putting them in the chat, guys.
Great. And then the next thing we're going to talk about is what's the job of a leader. So we can advance. Great. Thank you. And the job of a leader, building a network of relationships. So I think some of you kind of touched on that in some of your answers. Also developing a team with others, right? So I think someone said listening to people, and that's certainly hugely important. And then the last thing is acting with power, which all of you have as individuals and as parents. And hopefully through this training, you're certainly going to learn how to leverage that more and leverage that in partnership.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, of course.
See. So our kind of guiding principle for our leadership training today is this one. Can I have someone come off mute and read this power principle for me? Let's see. Who do we want to hear from? Maybe. Paz, can you hear us? Can you read the power principle for us?
The little green thing? Yeah.
Yeah, these white letters right underneath. Power is a product.
Power is a product of our relationship.
Thank you. Yes. Power is a product of our relationships. Would you guys have thought power can come from the relationships that we have and who we're in relationship with, who's in our network? Is that new for folks? I see some shaking heads like, yeah, it's new. Yeah, right? So really in when we're thinking about power and in organizing, we call it relational power, right? We've been kind of shown that like, hey, our school's literacy data, right, isn't exactly where we want it to be. We know it can be so much higher, right? Maybe right now it's like, 25, 35%, but we have this like goal that it's 90%, right? Which is one of the reasons why probably some of us showed up tonight. And so when we have power and we are kind of taking stock of, okay, what is our reality right now? And what do we want it to look like, right? What is our goal? We can use power to advance us from where we are to where we want to be. A key part of generating that kind of power is being in relationship with those around us, right? Especially in relation to whatever goal it is that we have. And so as parent leaders, right, we're trying to kind of develop our leadership here, learn a little bit more about like what's being taught in the classroom, how we can support our child at home, being more involved. A lot of you have said, be more involved in a child's life, right? That's the job of a leader. One other key part of that I feel like we've been doing a really good job of, especially when we get in our small groups, is sharing a little bit about who we are with each other, right? Getting to know each other kind of on a personal level. And that's called, what we call that is being in relationship with each other. So when we share about our own education experience and how that affects how we show up as parents today, right? And how that's influenced our decision to be here, we're starting to be in relationship with each other. Imagine if we had never come together, never talked, never shared our stories or even thought about our stories, right? We wouldn't even be on the road to generating enough power to change the literacy scores. And so I want to take you through a fun, kind of infographic of what this can look like when we're kind of out in the world thinking about, okay, who do I want to share my stories with? And how can I do that effectively? Right? So imagine that this little person here is someone that's at your school. Okay, maybe it's a parent in your child's class, and you've gone, you're feeling agentic, you're feeling like, okay, I know it's really important that I understand my child's reading data, but I'm a little confused, right? We've been seeing different scores. I want to know a little bit more. Man, I wonder if other parents have these same questions, right? And you're thinking and you're looking, and there's someone in your child's class. It's this person, right? And you're like, I wonder if they know, if they have the same questions as me. I wonder, what their story is, right? I wonder if, I can share my story with them, and we can kind of come together and think about, okay, how can we improve, the literacy data at the school, right? What does that look like? How do we support our kids? And so part of that puzzle is what we call self-interest. That's in this little yellow triangle here. SI stands for self-interest. Our self-interest is like what's important to us, right? It's what others perceive to be important to me. So we could probably perceive from everyone on this call that being involved in their child's education is important to them, right? Why else would you join an institute like this? To learn a little bit more about that, right? And to level up your leadership. This lever here that the person is on, this person in your child's class, represents relationship. And in order to have kind of a successful, meaningful, effective relationship, you have to have kind of a trust, right? And when we can kind of cultivate a trust is when we can start sharing our stories with each other. We start with our own self-interest, right? I'm interested in raising literacy data at the school because when I was young, I can speak for me. For me, when I was young, my mom, she worked overnight. And so I had to really rely on my older sister, my peers, my teacher to be able to learn how to read, right? And so that is the lens that I show up to this space with, right? That's kind of my self-interest, right? That's why I operate the way I do. My experiences, and now I'm trying to be in relationship with you guys at the school so we can kind of work together, right, to improve the literacy rates. So there's two things that I want us, especially as we kind of move into the next section of the leadership training, to really understand that when we are able to identify what is important to someone, which is their self-interest, we understand that can actually move people, right? It can move them from being like, man, I have so many questions about my child's data to being like, dang, I know I need to do something about it, right? It moves people, it changes their attitude. And when you're in relationship with someone, it can also move them. So if you were to go up to someone and you had never shared anything about yourself, maybe they only know your name and you're like, hey, you want to join this literacy team at my school? Maybe they won't be receptive. But if you share a little bit about who you are, right? We learned about Story of Self last week and reflected. You share a little bit about who you are. They share a little bit about who they are and what they care about. Boom, you're starting to be in relationship with each other, and you can do a lot with that. You can build a lot of power with that. You can change a lot with that. Awesome. Can I kick it over to you, Megan?
Yes, you can. Okay. I am going to share a little bit about how we transitioned from our story of self into the story of us, but I'm going to do that first by sharing a little bit of my story of self that I think will speak to what Susan was talking about on the last side, which is sort of that self-interest and then also the relationship building. So I talked about this a little bit in my breakout group, but as I mentioned, I'm a parent of 2 kids. I have 2 boys, 5th and 2nd grade. And while my own literacy journey was actually somewhat unremarkable and easy, I know Ms. Hurley mentioned in the last session that we've kind of gone in waves of how we teach kids to read. And I'm old enough that I got phonics the first time around. And so, but it was a really different story when my oldest son started school. He was a kid who did TK and then kindergarten. And so even with that kind of, extra year, both years like really struggled even to learn letter names, letter sounds, and sort of and I'm sure this will resonate for a lot of parents here tonight. We definitely heard, in TK, certainly like, oh, he'll learn in kindergarten, and in kindergarten, he'll figure it out in first grade. And it was in first grade where we really realized, and I'm thankful for a teacher and a reading specialist at our school who really fought for him to get additional intervention. That also coincided with the pandemic. And so it took a lot longer than probably normal to get him assessed and get him an IEP, but he is dyslexic, and we figured that out when he was in second grade. And so he's really struggled. I mean, he's still in fifth grade, but he, as all of you were looking at your report cards, I mean, certainly in ELA, we have never seen a 3. I mean, we have seen a lot of 1s and 2s. And, I don't know if he will ever be on grade level, and that's okay. But what he does need to do is learn how to read, right? I actually say this a lot to people. And I think to some people it might be shocking, but I'm okay if he never loves reading, but he has to know how to read, and he has the right to know how to read. And that's how I feel about all kids, because I hope they all can get to that place, but some of them won't. But it is hard to learn in any capacity if you cannot read. After third grade, every subject becomes really challenging for kids if they are not reading at or close to grade level. And that is an experience that I have certainly lived the last couple of years. What I will say, kind of transitioning into the story, I guess the story of us for me, I joined Lighthouse about 6 months ago. And part of my reason for wanting to join this organization was how passionate from our leadership down to our teachers were about teaching kids how to read, doing it in a science-based way, using a structured literacy curriculum, which is not something that my oldest son was privy to at an OUSD public school. And so it's really important to me to be with an organization that believes in that, and that certainly believes that all kids can learn how to read. And so I also want to say something that's really exceptional about Lighthouse and Lodestar. California, up until last year, was one of only 10 states that did not screen kids for dyslexia. And we now are going to, in 2 years, a law was passed this last session. So starting in 2 years, all schools will be required to screen kids in kindergarten through second grade. So if you have a kid who's going to be coming in 2025 in those grade levels, they will be required to be screened. But it's something that Lighthouse has been a leader in, has a screening tool in place. And so I think, again, I know that we are not where we want to be in terms of having all kids on grade level, but we have the right mission, mentality, tools in place to get all kids there. And a huge part of that is doing that in partnership with parents. And so that's why I'm so excited that we're doing this with all of you. So I will transition over to a little bit what's on the slide and talk about the story of us, which really is about sharing, what our families, our school, our community have been called to do, which is our shared purpose, our shared values, and our shared vision. As parent leaders in our school, we and you have the responsibility to listen to all of our stories. And as we listen, I think a lot of people talked about this in the chat, but that's really how we can build relationships with each other, with your teachers, with other parents, with other leaders, to understand the challenges that everyone is facing, that a lot of us share the same challenges and that we're not alone in them. And together we can be stronger. So that is how we move from the story of me to the story of we. And I am going to now transition. If we can go to the next slide. I know we have Leela here, who is going to share her own story of self and story of us. So I'm so excited to welcome her up to do that.
Hello, hi.
Hi, Leela. All yours.
Yeah. Okay, I definitely can't read these small words. I had to write it down myself.
No
okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Leela Booker. I have 2 kids at Lighthouse, kindergarten, Santi in 4th grade. daughter who used to go to the Lodestar, but now at Castlemont in the 10th grade. As an Oakland native, I attended E. Morris Cox in the Deep East. I was held back and placed in special ed in 2nd grade because I had a lot of trouble reading. I was raised by my grandma, had a 3rd grade education, who raised me, but because she had a lot on her plate, she was not able to help me as much. So I had to really push myself. I would go to the library for books, and I also used the Bible. I found what helped me the most was the one-on-one coaching I got while in special ed. My support for my children and their education is unwavering because my oldest daughter has an IEP and learning disability, and my youngest son cannot read yet. Oh my goodness, this is about to make me cry. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Leela.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
I advocate to be a leader because I know it takes the school and families and the communities to help out with all our children.
Leela, do you want me to help you out? I can read the rest if that's helpful.
Yes, please.
Of course. Everyone shows Leela some love in the chat. She's being so vulnerable with us, so open, sharing her story. So she's a parent leader because she knows it takes the school and families being in communication to support academic success. She's in communication with all of her children's teachers, and she makes it a priority to bridge what her kids are learning in the classroom to the activities that they do together at home. What attracted her to Lighthouse was the second language option, the small classes, and individualized support for students with IEPs. Lighthouse is also in her community and is accessible for her and her family to get to. So she wants to encourage each of you as parents at Lighthouse and Lodestar to use your own experiences from your own education journey. Really build a relationship with your child's teacher and get involved at the school. Leela, we thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know that wasn't easy.
No, because my grandmother isn't here anymore, and it just kind of like brought back a lot of memories. And it was hard because I'm the oldest granddaughter, the second oldest grandchild, and it was about 40 of them that followed me.
Mm.
We would stair step back to back. So my brother didn't choose the right path. He was incarcerated. So it left for me to be and set the example for everybody. And it was hard. It wasn't easy.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for sharing. Man, I know we are feeling a lot of emotions tonight. We are going to take some of that, reflect on it, reflect on Leela's story, and reflect on our own in our breakout groups. Right now, we'll take some time to talk together. We'll give it about 10-ish minutes, and then we're going to come back and adjourn, okay? So folks can hop into their breakout room now. All right, we are back in the big group. Please choose interpretation. Again, I totally want to hear the share outs, and we want to make sure everyone can hear the small group share outs. Por favor, escogen interpretación de nuevo. Okay, I'm going to share screen. Let's see. So I know last time when we were doing the share outs, we didn't hear from two groups. So we're going to start with those. We're going to do those, have those two groups share, okay? So From my group, we've actually combined those two groups. So we were Naborina, me, Norma, and a few other parents. Maybe Marisol, can you share a little bit about what we talked about in our small group?
We talked about, I believe her name is Norma, mentioned that more parents should be in like the schools supporting their kids and being there, like, I don't know, like being there for their kids. But like I mentioned to them, it's like, to me, it's like a gift that I'm available to be on top of them, like the teachers, the principal, asking questions and everything. Not everybody has that chance of saying I'm not gonna work so that I can be on top of my kids, you know, education. Everything's so expensive right now that both of the parents probably have to work and they don't have the time to be there for them. They try their best. So it's like us at the end, we share that we can make friends, we can talk to parents and give out this information that we're learning here. And I said, well, yeah, that's the best thing that we can do.
Thank you so much. Exactly, right? That choice that we have to either do something about what we're learning or not and hold on to the information and only use it for ourselves. That's kind of this key choice that we've kind of been talking about, right? I just feel like you said it so perfectly, Marisol. Thank you so much. I know we're just about at time, and I'm going to make sure that next time we can have all groups share after the leadership lesson, because I know we talk about so many important things, but I want to make sure that we get you guys out on time. Ooh, oh, wow. Oh, let's see. Here we go. So we're going to go over our homework for tonight because we do have 2 more sessions where we're going to be meeting on Zoom. And we want to make sure, just like we were able to do a lot of celebrations for a lot of you guys that were doing the work at home, Leela and little Eric was reading, Patrice and Prince, right? We want to see more celebrations from more parents, from more families. So as you practice your home routine reading, practicing that time fluency, right? You putting that timer on 1 minute and seeing how many words your student can read and if it aligns with where they're supposed to be for grade level. Take videos of that, take pictures of that. We want to see, we want it to excite and inspire hope in the other parents here on the call, okay? We want to celebrate you and your hard work. So that's really your homework, right? Continue that routine. You have a great resource, that reading chart. Practice that time fluency, and please send us photo or video evidence of it. And then share your story, right? Marisol really just said it so eloquently. Like I'm kind of like in awe, right? That not all parents have the same capacity that you all on the call have. And so how can we share our stories and hold space for other people's stories so that we can start building relationships at our school and do something about this data, right? Get this information out. And what better way to do that than sharing our story of self and that story of us, right? Who are we as a Lighthouse community? How does that sound for homework? Does that sound doable for folks? Does that sound good? I see head nods. I see thumbs up. Good. I'm so glad to hear it. Well, with that said, we are going to drop a link to the evaluation in the chat. If you could click on that link, it'll have a few questions in there. We just want to see what concepts that we learned tonight do you feel super confident about, and which ones do maybe you want a little more practice on, so we know what to include in the final 2 sessions, okay? So we really want to hear from you, have your feedback in that evaluation. It looks like some folks are already filling it out. The link is in the chat box, and it is in English and Spanish, so everyone on the call can take it, okay? Awesome. Before we adjourn, I want us to do a feel woo woo. Y'all are working so hard at home, being so vulnerable here in this space. So I'm going to count us off and we're going to end this awesome session with a woo woo. All right? Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Woo woo.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, so much. We so
Thank
appreciate your
you.
participation. Thank you, Angela. Good night,
Okay.
everybody.
Thank you,
Gracias,
everyone.
Susan,
Bye.
Norina,
Thanks,
y todas
everybody.
nuestras
You guys
demás
have a
Adiós,
good night.
Ángela.
participants.
Noche.
Bye,
Good
Norita,
Bye.
night, you
Reina.
guys.
Have a good
Hasta
night.
mañana. Buenas
Diego,
noches.
Marisol, Laila.
Buenas
Bye.
noches. Good night.